Alright, so today I wanted to look into the World Happiness Index in more in depth. Um, the numbers there were concerning, and I want to try and like see if we can figure out why. Specifically for Canada, but I'm going to look into the U.S. too. Why the numbers have gone down so much. That's what we're going to try and look into today. Let's see. I had this work in the background. Here's what the research shows about Canada's youth happiness trends, along with the best resources for charts. Yes, always ask for charts. Key findings from the 2026 World Happiness Report. Canada fell from 25th place in the 2026 World. Canada fell to the 25th place in the 2026 World Happiness Report, continuing a decade-long downward trend. That's not good. Want to see? Decade-long? In the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, the happiness of people under 25 has fallen by an average of 0.86 points on a 0 to 10 scale over the past 20 years. Okay, so if we're working on a 0 to 10 scale, 1 would be 10%. So that's like an 8.6% drop. For Canadians below age 30, the country ranked 58th, while for those over age 60, it ranked 8th. Yeah, that's weird. In Canada, the elderly rank really high, and the youth rank really low. The only country with a worse decline in young people's happiness are Jordan, Venezuela, Lebanon, and Afghanistan. I mean, like, that's not a group you want to be with. You don't want to be lumped in with those countries. Lebanon's in an active war. Venezuela just had their leader kidnapped, essentially. I don't even know what's going on in Jordan. And Afghanistan is Afghanistan. In French-speaking Quebec, the decline in young well-being has been significantly less than the rest of Canada. Really? Which is mainly English-speaking. Okay, where to find the charts? This is what. Let's see. Give me charts. Canada's happiness decline hits young people the hardest. Okay, happiness score. We got our different age groups. Man. Below age 30. So it wasn't... I mean, look, like back in like 2006, where we were. I mean, they've all kind of had a downward trend except the elderly. Kind of bounced back. I mean, I guess our country's run by old people, right? But like none of that's good. 30 to 40 is almost 30 to 44 is almost as bad as below 30, and the 45 to 59, like look at that downward slide. That is not good. I like the graph. I'm gonna keep that graph for later. What about this one? Download chapter. I was looking for graph. Maybe we just gotta pull down far enough. Oh, country ranking by life evaluations. So, what can you guys see? Do I gotta zoom in a little? It's a little bit bigger. Rank CI. I don't know what that is. This is their current rank. Guessing the number there is the 0 from 10. So we got like Finland, Iceland, Denmark, Costa Rica, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, Israel. Quite happy. Luxembourg, Switzerland, New Zealand, Mexico, Ireland. What were we? We were like 25th. We're like a whole point behind Finland. What are the bars? The first 6 subbars show how much each of the 6 key variables is calculated to contribute to the country. Ladder score relative to that. Okay, so we're going into where's the US? United Kingdom 29th. Canada 25th. Okay. Germany 17th. United States 23rd. But actually, people are more happy in the US than in Canada on average. Taiwan, province of China. Right below Canada, huh? Consistency and change in the happiness ranking. 2 features carry over from previous editions. There's a lot here. I'm kind of just looking for other charts. Life evaluations in the world have slightly gone up. Western Europe slightly down. Central and Eastern Europe, actually, they went up. North America and ANZ are on a downward trend for the different age groups. Oh, this is just looking at youth, too. Middle East is pretty consistent. Sub-Saharan Africa, you got a little dip up there. By generation. Ooh, okay. Yeah, the lines aren't changing that much because these are like averages for massive regions. I don't think we're gonna see anything else here. I like this one because that's the full 147. Afghanistan. Yeah. 1.4. People are not happy in Afghanistan. Some that don't have charts. Okay, let's see what else it's giving me. Canada Happiness Index. Let me just check the mic for a second. Okay, so that's working fine. The latest value from 2025 is 6.8. Decline from 6.9. Okay, so this is how it's gone. Okay, this is probably a better representation. 2018, we were at 7.3. 2025, we're at 6.8. Okay. Can you outline some reasons that might have caused this decline in the happiness score throughout Canada and specifically for the youth? Canada, this one doesn't know how to put two commas in. Okay. There are several well-documented factors driving this decline, both for Canada overall and for youth specifically. Housing affordability and economic stress. Yeah, I think we all could have guessed that one. Although housing prices are coming down, like Canada still has some of the most expensive real estate, especially in some of the bigger cities, some of the most expensive real estate in the world. Let's add up. Most expensive cities to live in. This is from 2024, so a couple of years ago. I just want a list. List. Looks like it. New York, San Francisco, Brazil, Boston, Singapore. I mean, I guess we're not in the top 15. I thought Toronto and Vancouver were way up there. But I guess housing affordability is kind of an issue everywhere. Let's see if this. Okay. Cost of living index. We want the cost of living index. I'm not quite sure. Let's see if we can find Canada. Vancouver and Toronto are 149 and 150 most expensive cities. Victoria, Canada, is more expensive. Where's Victoria? Okay. Okay, so that's Vancouver, which was another one of them, right? Victoria is down here. All right. So it's got the same problem as Vancouver does. Not the most expensive cities, but still, housing affordability is an issue everywhere. This is arguably the biggest driver for young Canadians. Between 2008 and 2025, economic stress accounted for roughly half of the steep decline in life satisfaction reported by Canadians ages 20 to 34. The percentage of young Canadians reporting food or shelter insecurity more than doubled over nearly 2 decades, and they were 3 times more likely to report worsening living standards. In 1986, young adults needed 5 years to save a home down payment. That timeline is stressed dramatically. Surveys suggest that 1/3 of Gen Z Canadians are eating less because of finances or borrowing to buy food. What? Surveys suggest that 1/3 of Gen Z Canadians are eating less because of finances or borrowing to buy food. 1/3? I want to look more into that. Let's finish here. Collapsing job market for graduates. I mean, like, this is happening everywhere. AI is largely taking over the the jobs that AI is currently displacing is largely like the entry level position. The people who graduate would usually get their entry level job. That is what AI is currently taking, and it's taking it in mass. According to Canada's Labour Market Information Council, half of entry-level jobs posting for graduates with a bachelor degree vanished between 2024 and 2025. This makes the traditional path from education to stable employment feel increasingly out of reach. Shattered expectations. Past generations followed a clear path. Education led to jobs, job led to home, and families followed soon after. Today, that timeline has stretched. Young adults compare their present lives to an ideal future that now feels unreachable. Researchers describe this as a fundamental shift in what adulthood looks like for Canadians. Social media and mental health. Heavy social media use has contributed to a stark decline in well-being among young people, with the effects particularly worsening in teenage girls in English-speaking countries, including Canada. Is that like English speaking? Is because earlier it said that the decline was actually less amongst the French speaking youth. And so is it the English, like teenage girls in English speaking countries, that you see a massive decline in youth happiness? Because that is scary. Okay, I wanna write some. Let me grab. Gotta sort these at some point. It's getting to be a massive cluster. Okay. I wanted to look at 1/3. Here. I wonder why social media is so bad, particularly for teenage girls. Like, I understand that social media is bad for youth, but why teenage girls in specific? Okay. Across 47 countries, young students who use social media for over 7 hours a day have much lower well-being than those who use it for less than an hour. Well, I mean, like, 7 hours a day seems excessive. The COVID-19 pandemic and the 2008 recession. Oh, always goes back to like pandemic. I think that was a crit for humanity. Crit on humanity, maybe. COVID-19 and the 2008 recession in particular appeared to have lowered the well-being of those under the age of 45 relative to older groups, especially those under 25. The pandemic in particular disrupted schooling. I mean, like, you see that in like children in elementary school, where they lost a couple of the really important learning years And so they're like significantly behind. Like right now, you look across the board and children in school are performing worse than like ever before in all aspects. But this is because like they lost 2.5 years because of COVID. Learning online for an adult is functional. Learning online for a child is not functional. It was not functional schooling for a large group of children. And so they're just 2.5 years behind where they should be. And that shows up in the data. And apparently it's showing up in the happiness index as well. They lost disrupted schooling, social development, and early career opportunities at a critical life stage for many Canadians. A failing healthcare system. Among the factors contributing to youth unhappiness, research also highlights a failing healthcare system, particularly relevant as access to mental health services for young remains limited across much of Canada. Mental health. Like this is something I've never really looked that into. But like mental health, that's not covered under Canadian healthcare. Mental health. Okay. Let's continue. Political polarization and social division. You see this everywhere. Like I think in Canada we actually have this less than the US does. And that it's actually worse there. But I mean, it's not good here. Researchers note that increased polarization over social issues has made it harder for young people to feel grounded and optimistic. This is a broader Western trend, but hits English-speaking countries like Canada particularly hard. An important nuance. It's worth noting that when Statistics Canada asked Canadian youth how satisfied they were currently, rather than comparing their life to the best possible life they could live, the decline in happiness was significantly less dramatic. Okay. It's worth noting that when Statistics Canada asked Canadian youth how satisfied they were currently, the decline in happiness was significantly less dramatic. So the framing of the question matters, but the overall downward trend is real regardless. So the original question is comparing their life to the best possible life they could live. The through line connecting most of these factors is that young Canadians increasingly feel the traditional milestones of adulthood, stable work, home ownership, financial security are out of reach, which erodes their sense of hope and life satisfaction. Okay, that's not good. All right, let's continue. I wanted to ask about. Surveys suggest that 1/3 of Gen Z Canadians are eating less because of finances. 4, 5. Yes. Sick. Blackbird. Okay. I'm really starting to like Claude more than the other ones. It doesn't have voice to text like ChatGPT or Grok. But I mean, I have built-in voice text into Windows, so that works. Okay. I want to be upfront with you here. That specific statistic came from a Global and Mail article that I cited in the previous response. Unfortunately, the Global and Mail blocks automated access to its content, so I can't retrieve the article directly to identify which underlying survey or study that specific figure came from. I searched further for the original source and couldn't pin it down precisely, so I caution against treating that exact 1/3 figure as verified. That it sounded extreme. Without reading the Global and Mail piece yourself, you can find it here. I'm not going to read it, but I would like as soon as we do this. Oh, it's one of those. So I'm not going to be able to go in and see the actual reporting without paying money to the Global Mail. Note, it may be behind a paywall. Exactly. It is behind a paywall. That said, the broader picture the statistic points to is well supported by other sources I did find. Perfect. This is what I wanted. A Ledger survey of 315 Canadian millennials and Gen Zers found that the majority are scaling back spending due to the rising cost of living, with savings and food spending being the most affected, 73 and 68% respectively. 2025 TD survey found that fewer than 2 in 5 Gen Z Canadians, 37%, feel in control of their money, while nearly 2 in 3, 64%, say they experience financial stress multiple times a week, more than any other generation. What? Okay. Let me read that one again. A 2025 TD survey found that fewer than 2 in 5 Gen Z Canadians, so 37%, fewer than that, feel in control of their money. So 37%, less than 37%, feel in control of their money. I mean, in today's world where they make everything a subscription and everything is so monetarily predatory that I mean, I could see that, not feeling like you're in control of your money. While nearly 2 in 3, 64%, say they experience pretty much the exact opposite, right? Say they experience financial stress multiple times a week, more than any other generation. That is insane. That is something I'm gonna TD, huh? More than half of Gen Z Canadians feel pressured to fake financial stability. Like that's not good. Like, this is all the financial aspect of the happiness index, right? I mean, if you're experiencing financial stress multiple times a week, you're just going to be significantly less happy. Top barriers prohibiting Gen Z from reaching their financial goals includes the higher cost of living, like home prices, food prices, stuff like that, and low income. So while I can't verify the exact 1/3 number without the paywall source, the overall trend, a significant portion of young Canadians are making serious sacrifices about basic needs like food. is consistent across multiple independent surveys. I should have been clearer about the source chain in my earlier response. Okay. That's concerning. Like, this is the economic situation, but also not being able to enter the workforce, right? Go up here. Collapsing job market for graduates. Which, I mean, this leads into housing affordability and economic stress. That kind of all ties together. Let's go. Particularly worrying in teenage girls in English-speaking countries like Canada. Why is the happiness index going down, particularly for teenage girls in English-speaking countries? Okay, here we go. This is one of the most researched questions in youth well-being right now. The short answer is that social media is the primary driver, and teenage girls are disproportionately vulnerable to it for several interconnected reasons. Like, we were looking at how Australia is putting the social media ban in place, and it's to counter this, essentially, right? All right. Social media hits girls harder than boys. The platforms themselves are a major part of the problem. Girls feel more pressure to post, to appear attractive or popular, and to engage with content that often triggers comparison or self-doubt. This constant exposure to idealized versions of peers and influence takes a powerful toll on a teenage girl's self-esteem and creates unrealistic expectations that no one can achieve. So everyone feels this, right? Like, constant exposure to idealized versions of peers and influencers takes a powerful toll. Like, we all see this because when you go on social media, everyone's always putting their best self forward. Like, I was watching a video of an influencer who does travel stuff, and they showed the amount of editing that they would do to all of their photos that they would post on social media. Like, they go to a beach and they would edit out all of the other people on the beach to make it look like they had this beautiful beach all to themselves, when really it was quite crowded. And they just put a lot of editing time into it. And that's done everywhere, right? Like, the amount of the editing that people usually put into their content. And now with AI, it's so much easier to just put it through like a filter, essentially, and have a better, more idealized version of yourself put forward. And apparently, teenage girls are the group that is most affected by that. Like, that's not good. I'm starting to like the idea of the Australia social media ban for youth. creates unrealistic expectations. The data backs this up clearly. Teen girls are more likely than boys to report that social media hurts their mental health. 25% versus 14%. Their sleep, 50% versus 40%. I mean, like, I'll be honest, nothing hurts my sleep. Like, it's gotta be really bad to affect my sleep. And their confidence, 20% versus 10%. Girls are also more likely to feel overwhelmed by drama. 45% versus 34%. I mean, that's still a lot of guys reporting they feel overwhelmed by drama. Like, I'm a drama-free person. I just ignore it, usually. Feel excluded from friends. Okay. And feel pressured to post popular content. So they're just like 10% more affected in every single category. They just are more affected by it. I wonder why that is. Like, is this just difference in the mental between sexes? Or is this like a societal thing? Well, maybe I'll ask that once we get to the bottom of it. Specific mechanisms: cyberbullying, sleep, and exercise. Research published in The Lancet pinpoints exactly how social media harms girls. In girls, frequent social media use seems to harm health when it led to cyberbullying and or inadequate sleep and lack of exercise. Okay, in girls, frequent social media use seemed to harm health when it led to cyberbullying. Well, I mean, it's gonna harm anyone's health being cyberbullied, right? Like that's and or inadequate sleep. Is that from overuse? Like you're using social media when you should be sleeping? And lack of exercise, is that from using social media when you should be exercising? And these three factors could almost completely predict whether heavy social media use would harm a teenage girl's well-being. Crucially, these same factors did not have the same effect on boys. Really? Okay. So, boys are more resistant to social media than girls. Okay. Teen girls and LGBTQ youth are more likely to experience cyberbullying and online harassment, which can lead to poor emotional health. The 5 hour threshold. The 5 hours threshold. The report found that 15-year-old girls who use social media for 5 hours or more reported a noticeable drop in life satisfaction compared to those who used it less. This suggests there is a dosage effect. It isn't just social media in general, but the intensity of it that causes harm. Oh, okay, here we go. Why English-speaking countries specifically? This is a nuanced point. In French-speaking Quebec, the decline in youth well-being have been significantly less than in the rest of Canada, which is mainly English-speaking. Researchers believe this is particularly because English language platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, dominate the media landscape. So there's more social media in English than in other languages. dominate the media landscape of these countries, meaning teens in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand are exposed to the same algorithmically driven content at very high rates. The platforms are also primarily designed around English speaking cultural norms around appearance and status. By contrast, in regions like Latin America, the link between social media use and well being are more positive, and youth well being have not fallen despite heavy social media use, suggesting that stronger family and social ties may buffer negative effects. So, one of the main issues that I see currently in Canada and the US and a lot of Western countries is we moved from a one income household to a two income house. And through that transition where women were moving from being homemakers to working, from my understanding, the family unit as a whole lost around 35 hours of discretionary time a week, because the woman is now in a job rather than just being at home. And so the family unit lost a significant amount of discretionary time. And it just simply means the family unit lost a significant amount of parenting time as well, because that was 35 hours that the parents would have with the children that they just don't have anymore. And that affects your family and social ties massively, because that's like 35 hours a week. And so losing that, like, a lot of people blame parents for issues with the kids, but they don't understand that both parents have full-time jobs and quite often have to put in extra time because that's just how our society is for some reason. And like, they don't have a whole lot of time to be parents. And that's one of the largest issues I currently see with our society. Easy fix, move to a 4-day work week rather than a 5-day work week. Give discretionary time back to parents so that they can be parents of their kids again. But that's going to be a hard one to sell. Okay, the broader mental health pictures. In the United States, the percentage of adolescents and young adults prescribed antidepressants has been... I don't buy the antidepressant stuff. Like, I got through my youth without antidepressants. I don't know if they're helping. Like, I've heard a lot of bad things about a prolonged use of antidepressant. Okay, young adults prescribed antidepressants has been rising since before COVID, driven by increased prescribing to females, while dispensing to male adolescents actually decreased. Oh. This mirrors the happiness data. Girls' mental health has been declining for longer and more sleep. Boys. Aren't men more at risk of suicide? So how can girls be more unhappy, but men more likely to kill themselves? I want to ask it. Give me a second. Important nuance. It's worth noting that while the correlation between social media use and well-being is well established, caution remains tentative. Oh. Causation remains tentative. So the correlation. So you got correlation, which means there's a pattern. Causation means the pattern is because of each other. So there's well-established correlation between social media and well-being, but the causation remains tentative. I mean, there's so many factors, right? Some researchers argue that teens who are already struggling may turn to social media more rather than social media causing the struggle. Most experts now believe it runs both ways. It's a reinforcing cycle rather than a simple one-way cause. Like a feedback loop. You start having mental health problems. You go to social media to try and resolve your mental health problems. Social media gives you more mental health problems. Okay. I hear that men are more likely to commit suicide. Why is it that girls seem to have worse mental health, but men are more likely to commit suicide? What do you think? The other thing I want to talk here. Oh, I want to know if mental health is covered in. I don't think it is. But I can check. This is a really well documented phenomenon in psychiatric and society. It even has a name. The gender paradox of suicide. Oh, well, they've named it. Here's what the research tells us. The basic picture: while women more often have suicidal thoughts, men die by suicide more frequently. Globally, death by suicide occurs about 1.7 to 1.8 times more often among men than women. Oh. So, that's not even... Like, that's less than 2 to 1. I thought it was a larger gap than that. But apparently not. And in Western countries, men die by suicide 3 to 4 times more. Oh, okay. Well, that's so globally 1.7 to 1.8, but in Western countries, men die by suicide 3 to 4 times more often than. Okay, well, those are the numbers I was more expecting. At the same time, suicide attempts are 2 to 4 times more frequent among women. Okay, hold up. Men die by suicide 3 to 4 times more often than women. Suicide attempts are 2 to 4 times more frequent among women. So, men are just more successful at killing themselves than women. It's not that they don't attempt. There's actually more, 2 to 4 times more frequent attempts among women for suicide. Men just get the job done at a higher rate. I mean, that's scary. So it isn't that women are fine, they're actually attempting suicide at higher rates. The key difference is in outcome. The method gap. The most significant factor explaining this paradox is the lethality of methods chosen. Men frequently die by suicide via high mortality methods such as hanging, carbon monoxide poisoning, and firearms. Yeah, like, gonna get you every time. I don't know carbon monoxide poisoning, but I hear it's really deadly. Hanging, if you do it right, will get you every time. Women tend to rely more on drug overdoses, which, while deadly, is less immediate and therefore more likely to be caught before death occurs. This means that when the intent is the same, men are less likely to survive an attempt simply due to the method used. So men, try this method. You'll be less successful, and that's better. I guess men are far more likely to have a firearm, right? Men's suppression goes undetected. A major part of the puzzle is that men's mental health is significantly underdiagnosed. Women are diagnosed with mental health conditions at a higher rate overall, but some researchers argue that diagnostic tools themselves are biased in a way that undercounts men's struggles. I mean, we see this everywhere. For the longest time, when you did medical diagnosis, when you did medical tests, you did it on men, and then you just assumed women were men with pesky hormones. And for a long time, that was just science. And eventually, they started doing men and women and accounting for their differences properly. And apparently, when it comes to mental health struggles, women are more open about it, and so it's tested more. And so male mental health struggles do not have the same symptoms as female mental health struggles. And when you do the test to look for female mental health struggles, you're not going to find it in men because it doesn't look the same. Depression in men often presents differently as anger, irritability, risk-taking, or substance abuse rather than sadness and tearfulness. Right there. So it frequently gets missed or misattributed. If one assumes that a large number of suicides are the direct consequence of depressive disorder, then one must conclude that depression is underdiagnosed and undertreated in. Okay, how far do we got here? Okay. Men don't seek help. Men die by suicide at far higher rates, are more likely to develop severe substance use problems, and are far less likely to seek or receive help. Cultural expectations around masculinity, the idea that men should be stoic, self-reliant, and not show vulnerability, discourage men from reaching out until they are in acute crisis, at which point intervention is much harder. Women express distress differently. Research also suggests that self-harm and suicidal behavior serve different psychological functions by gender. Acts of debilitated self-harm by females are more often based on non-suicidal motivation. Okay. Researchers also suggest that self-harm and suicidal behaviors serve different psychological functions by gender. Acts of debilitating self-harm by females are more often based on non-suicidal motivation. In females, self-harm is more commonly used to communicate distress or to modify the reactions of others. In males, self-harm more often correlates with genuine suicidal intent. So women are far more likely to engage in self-harm, to communicate distress. And men more often, it's genuinely suicidal. This means that women's higher rate of self-harm and suicide attempts don't translate the same fatality rate because the underlying intent is often different. Social roles play a role too. The gender paradox may stem, at least partly, from differences in gendered social roles. Traditional roles influence experience of stress, likelihood of seeking help, and choice of suicide method. Women have traditionally maintained social relationships and domestic networks. Women have traditionally maintained social relationship and domestic network, which may provide protective buffers, while men's traditional role as breadwinners tie their identity more tightly to financial and social status, making losses in those areas more destabilizing. The bottom line, the takeaway isn't that one gender has it worse, it's that they suffer differently and for different reasons. Girls and women experience higher rates of diagnosed depression, anxiety, and non fatal self harm. Boys and men experience higher rates of completed suicide, substance abuse, and undiagnosed mental illness. Both are serious public health crises that tend to be underfunded and underdiscussed, just in different ways. If you or someone you know is struggling, the Canadian Suicide Prevention Service is available 24/7 at 1 833 456 4566 or by text at 45645. Man, how did we end up here? Wasn't I talking about like happiness index? I guess that kind of makes sense. You start looking at unhappiness, you get into depression. Social media, ugh. Okay, is there a specific suicide prevention service line for the United States? Is there one for the UK? I mean, let's just show a couple of them. I figure English speakers are probably the people that are the people that are going to watch this. In the United States, 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Call or text 988. So they got a real short number, like 911, but 988. Available 24/7, free and confidential. Whether you're facing mental health struggles, emotional distress, alcohol or drug use concerns, or just need someone to talk to, counselors are available. You can call, text, or chat. You can also chat online at 988lifeline.org. Worth knowing this line is genuinely making a difference. Nearly 4,400 fewer U.S. teens and young adults died by suicide than projected in the first 2.5 years of the 980. Okay, UK. It looks like they have a couple different ones in the UK. Samaritas, call 116123, available 24/7, free. Any phone, including pay as you go, with no credit needed. The most widely known crisis line in the UK. National Suicide Prevention Helpline UK, call 0800 587 0800. Open 6 p.m. to midnight every day. If you can't connect, try. Okay. So this one, 116123, is the most common one for the UK. Okay. Does the Canadian healthcare system... Why is it not picking me up? Try this again. Does the Canadian healthcare system cover mental health? That's an important question, and an honest answer is it depends on what kind of care you need. The Canadian system has significant gaps that surprise many people. The short answer, no, universal mental health coverage. Canada doesn't have universal mental health coverage, although nearly 8 out of 10 Canadians want it. According to a 20, I mean, like that just sounds like a good idea. They finally put a plan in for dental care, Canada. I think they should be expanding it into mental health. According to a 2023 survey, more than 1/3 of Canadians with mental health concerns don't get help because of the cost or because they don't know where to go. What is covered publicly? Psychiatrists are covered as they are medical doctors. Anything deemed medically necessary is also covered. This can include support from social workers and clinical counselors provided through a government-funded hospital, clinic, or agency, or an employee assistance program. There are also some community-based services and not-for-profit agencies or support groups. The Canadian Mental Health Association. So some stuff is covered. Psychiatrists, as they are medical doctors, and anything deemed medically necessary. But with mental health, how hard is it to get your mental health deemed medically necessary? I imagine that's pretty difficult. I went down too far. What is not covered? This is where most people run into trouble. Private practice registered psychotherapists, social workers, or psychologists who run their own practice charge per visit with an average cost range from $125 to $225 according to Mental Health Commission of Canada. Like mental health is going to be so hard to figure out. For dental care, they set a lot of baseline prices and they cover the baseline cost. And if it costs more than that, then you have to pay for over that, but they expect like a filling to cost X amount. If they charge you more, then you have to pay the difference, from my understanding. But like they set the amounts reasonably, so most clinics will charge you the X amount. You run into problems in places like Toronto, Vancouver, large cities where the real estate of the dental facility is inflated, right? And so therefore they inflate their costs to cover it, and that is when you can run into still paying over the dental plan. So something like that for mental health, so that you can cover what it should cost rather than what the experts charge or overcharge. I mean, I'm sure they can look into this and try and figure out a better way of doing it. I like how they did the dental plan. I personally think that dental health is healthcare, should be completely covered and rolled into healthcare entirely. But I mean, the dental care plan is a good first step. So if your family doctor refers you to a psychiatrist, though, through the public system, that's covered. But if you want to see a therapist or a psychologist in private practice, which is where the majority of ongoing mental health support happens. You're paying out of pocket unless you have private employer benefits. Okay. Let's get to the bottom. About 1 in 5 Canadians experience mental health or substance use issues in any given year. Really? 25%. And about 1 in 3 may experience mental illness in their lifetime. Well, progress has been made in recognizing and treating mental health concerns. Many still struggle to find care that is timely and meets their needs. This gap between what's covered and what people actually need is widely seen as one of the reasons youth mental health has deteriorated, and it's a significant policy debate in Canada right now. The system covers you well if you're in crisis and need a hospital or a psychologist, but for the kind of ongoing preventative therapy that keeps people mentally well, most Canadians are largely on their own financially unless their employer provides benefits. That sucks. Hopefully they can expand that. Am I saying that one right? Go next to
I can't believe.
Yeah. Okay. I want you to read a word to me so I know I'm saying it right.
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. Okay, I'm gonna save you for that. Sources. Now we should never have that problem again. Okay, the psychiatrist. Symptoms cover you well if you're in crisis and need a hospital or a psychiatrist. Does Canadian healthcare system. All right, well, I think I'm going to try and move on. I've got a little dark. Oh, I wanted to know why. Why women are more affected. Okay, one more. Why are women and girls more affected by social media? Is it a biological or a social thing? All right, move on after this. Oh, I think there was something I wanted to. The unprecedented plan to ban kids from using AI chatbots. That sounds interesting. Like, social media is bad. I don't see chatbot. Like, when you're using something like Claude, there's no personal element to it, right? Like, it's not pretending to be a person. It's not trying to provide you a social connection. It's gathering the information. That is what it is doing. But many chatbots and the addictive ones, they're trying to fill the social need and replace the social need. And so I think that could be scary. I might watch that. Okay, let's finish up here first. The research suggests it's genuinely both biological and social factors working together and amplifying each other. Here's how research breaks it down. Oh, I love that I can just find this research. The biological side. Brain development and puberty timing. Oxford University research published in Nature Communications found that girls experience a negative link between social media use and life satisfaction when they are 11 to 13 years old. Oh. So just don't let them use it in these years. Well, boys experience it at 14 to 15. Oh. Maybe just keep them both off it until 16. Like, the more I read about this, the more Australia's ban is sounding better and better. Researchers suggest this sensitivity may be linked to developmental changes, possibly changes in the structure of the brain, or to puberty, which occurs later in boys than in girls. In other words, girls hit the peak vulnerability window for social media harm. At the same time, their brains are undergoing the most dramatic rewiring. It's bad. And social media is right there to exploit it. Yeah. Maybe we should be copying Australia. Like, I hear that the current iteration of their ban is actually only phase 1, and that there's going to be multiple phases to it, where they get increasingly more strict. Pre-existing susceptibility. Girls tend to be more susceptible than boys to mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety regardless of screen time. This baseline biological difference means they bring greater vulnerability to social media, and the two things compound each other. Okay. So they're just more susceptible. Like, you can say equality all you want, but there are just gender differences. And women are more susceptible than boys to mental health conditions. Emotional sensitivity to social relationships. Adolescent girls' moods are more influenced by interpersonal events than boys. Girls are twice as likely as boys to attempt suicide if they feel socially isolated or have few friends. Overall, social integration may be more crucial to girls' mental health for both cultural and evolutionary reasons. This means that anything disruptive or distorting social life, which social media does, girls harder at a fundamental level. Oh, much do we cyberbullying? Okay, we'll go through this quick. The social side. The platforms themselves are built around female vulnerabilities. Like, this is what they do, right? Like, these companies have teams of psychologists that like understand your brain and try and get you to engage with it, right? We see this so much in like gotcha games. They keep making them more addictive. They keep finding new ways, like, oh yeah, you want a random roll, but the random roll can't give you a good thing every time. It's got to be intermittent, that you keep coming back to it. So much of that. It's terrible. Okay, the platforms themselves are built around female vulnerabilities. Girls spend more time on visual-oriented apps like Instagram and TikTok, are more affected by perfectionism and social comparison, because they tend to be more relational, are particularly hurt by things like online gossip and cyberbullying that impact their reputation. Body image and sexual objectification. An increased level of female sexual objectification has been identified through images on social media, where gender inequality is reinforced through the depiction of girls and women as sexually available and objectified. This may lead adolescent girls to internalize conventional ideas of femininity, with their worth based on constant observation and evaluation of their appearance. Boys face body image pressures on social media too, but the volume and nature of those messages are significantly different. Yeah. Okay. I mean, when I read all this, I'm kind of happy. I grew up in an age where social media when I was young was mostly just, oh, you can talk to your friends through a chat message online, and that was like the extent of it. I was out of high school, I think, before, not before Facebook, but before it took off and became a thing. And so a thing that everyone used, because I remember it was university when everyone was talking about Facebook. I mean, at that time, I didn't care. Never particularly cared about social media myself. Cyberbullying hits girls differently. Girls experience more cyberbullying than boys, and they may be uniquely bothered by certain aspects of it, including comments about appearance and negative comparison with others. The social consequences of online attacks also tend to be more severe for girls, spreading through friendship networks in ways that can be socially devastating. How girls use social media differently. Girls tend to spend more time in friendship dryads, while the heck's a friendship triad? Friendship triad is a fundamental two-person social group consisting of two individuals connected by a close, voluntary, and personal bond. Okay, so two-person friendship group. Girls tend to spend more time in friendship triads, while boys spend more time in groups. Okay. I can see that. Girls' friendships tend to be both more intimate and more fragile. And girls focus more on social relationships and popularity, especially during adolescence. And this means, well, social media distorts or disrupts those intimate relationships through comparison, exclusion, or drama. It strikes at something girls are biologically and socially primed to care more deeply about. Girls are also more trapped. Girls are more likely than boys to say they spend too much time on social media. Again, like, it's pretty consistent 10% difference. And they are more likely than boys to say it would be harder for them to give up on social media. I mean, a 10% again. This creates a situation where girls feel the harm more acutely, but also feel less able to walk away. The bottom line, okay. The honest answer is that biology sets the stage. Girls' brains, hormones, and evolutionary wiring make them more attuned to social relationships and more vulnerable to social rejection. And then social forces, platform design, cultural beauty standards, gendered online harassment, step in and exploit those vulnerabilities at scale. Neither alone neither alone fully explains it. The two interact constantly, and social media essentially pours fuel on a fire that biology had already lit. Okay, well, I'm starting to like the Australia social media ban a lot more after reading all this. Uh I think we should be pushing for something like that because where was it? The ages 11 to 13-year-old for girls and 14 to 15-year-old for boys. In Australia, everything was an under 16 ban. And I mean, like, it's not kicking them off the internet, it's limiting social media. I'm really interested in the studies that are going to come out of there, out of Australia with their ban. I think we should be pushing for something similar. Let's see, is Canada doing anything like that? Is Canada looking at anything similar to the Australia social media ban for youth? Good. This is a very live and fast moving debate in Canada right now. A lot has happened in just the past few weeks. Really? I've not been following that. Where things stand, Australia became the first country in the world to ban social media use for kids younger than 16 in December 2025. From my understanding, like, it's very limited right now, and they're planning to like push forward more in-depth versions of it in the future. But the first was just like a basic thing that wasn't very effective. Those under 16 are no longer allowed to use the major social apps of TikTok, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and Threads, with new accounts suspected subject to age verification and previous profiles deactivated. Canada has been watching this closely and is actively moving towards something similar. I think we should be. At the Liberal Party National Convention in Montreal in April 2026, grassroots members voted in favor of restricting young Canadians' access to social media platforms and AI chatbots. Oh, this is the AI chatbot stuff too. Quebec MP Rachel Bendaya backed the social media ban resolution and said she hopes it sparks serious debate. Importantly, delegates pass a non-binding resolution shifting responsibility onto social media platforms to enforce the limit amid growing concerns over youth mental health. It's not law yet, but signals strong political momentum. Manitoba leading the charge provincially. Public support is strong. There's significant pushback. Not everyone thinks a ban is the right answer, and some prominent voices are skeptical. Critics argue that harm is driven not by success alone, but by specific experiences on these platforms. A blanket ban does little to address the root cause and risks, pushing young people into less visible online environments. Like, that can be scary. Because places like Discord are community driven things, and if you remove the mainstream platforms like TikTok, Instagram, then like people will find a way, right? The less visible online environments. There are also practical concerns around enforcement. The government expert panel on online safety is studying the issue, but critics point out that EU did not specify which kids would be affected when the ban would happen or how it would be enforced. Interesting, the same Angus Reid survey showed that 75% support for a ban, also found that 72% of respondents said parents, not governments, should be primarily responsible. This gets back into the whole, in the past, I think it was, I don't know the time frame, but as women have moved from being providers in the home, being carers for the home, to being working in the workplace, you've lost 35 hours of discretionary time. The family unit has lost 35 hours of discretionary time. Therefore, the parents have lost 35 hours of parenting time that they would usually have to be parents with their children, that is just not there. And so you're saying, we're going to take 35 hours a week from you, but you should be primarily responsible for regulating teens on social media, which somewhat contradicts this ban. Like, you can't tell parents they have more responsibilities and then take more of their time away for work. That is a recipe for failure. And like, this whole thing started because we were looking at youth unhappiness, right? Like, the failure is happening. You are asking the parents to do more while giving them less time to do that. Again, like, we should go to a 4-day work week. I think that would solve a lot of things. Give a little bit of the time back. The bottom line, Canada is very much in an active debate on this. At the federal level, it remains non-binding policy for now, but Manitoba is poised to become the first province to legislate an actual ban, and one that goes even further than Australia's by including AI chatbots. Australia's ban, as I said, was phase 1. They were planning to roll out additional phases, so I imagine AI chatbots are going to. Whether other provinces and the federal government follow will likely depend on how Manitoba's experiment plays out. Wait, Manitoba's going to do it? Let's just watch how it goes first. And how the broader research on the effectiveness of Australia's ban develops over the coming months. When you talk about a ban on AI chatbots, is this all chatbots, or is this just, how do I phrase that? Like, when you talk about AI chatbots, is okay, is this chatbots like Claude, Grok, or Chat GPT? Yes, exactly. And I should be transparent that Claude is specifically named in this legislation. So it wants to stop chatbots like this. See, my issue has always been like something like Grok or Chat GPT, just like the baseline model, essentially functions like an information gathering tool. Like, I largely see and use this as a more advanced form of Google. When you're searching for information, it searches and gathers information on topics for you in a very concise manner. The problem with chatbots is when they start like AI girlfriends, when they pretend to be a person and they start creating that interpersonal relationship. I think, like, for adults, That's whatever. Do what you want with your life. But for children specifically, I think they're incredibly susceptible to something like that. Um, so a ban on that for children. Now, I know there's ways to like set some of these chatbots up to be more personal. Like you can use the voice mode here and it tries to be more personal. I don't like that personally, but well, probably AI chatbots. Hey, if you ban AI chatbots, they can't cheat in school. Right? They gotta actually learn stuff. So I mean, maybe until they're 16, that's probably actually a pretty good idea. What's specifically being targeted? The ban covers two categories. On the social media side, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, X, YouTube, and similar platforms. YouTube, I don't see as social. I don't really see YouTube as social media. But like, I also see how some people can use it as such. Like if you turn comments and the ability to interact off, is YouTube social media? I mean, it. Oh, there's the shorts on YouTube, right? And that can be used very similar to TikTok, Instagram. All right, I see it. On the AI chatbot side, the named examples are ChatGPT and Claude, essentially the major consumer-facing AI assistants. Grok would also fall under this category. Yep. Eni specifically said we should not be feeding our children's data to Sam Altman so he can make another $1 billion, or to Elon Musk so he can. I mean that. I'm far more concerned about the mentality of our kids than I am giving data to billionaires. Like, I think the interpersonal relationship with a chatbot, it can amplify social media. Like, social media does damage, and you have the AI chatbot crit. You wanna avoid those. Rationale goes okay. I don't civics. The enforcement challenge. This is where it gets complicated. Unlike blocking an app on a phone, AI chatbots are accessed through web browsers and are extremely difficult to age gate effectively. Yes, very difficult. The legislation is still being developed, and none of the specifics around enforcement, age verification, and penalties for individual users versus platforms have been fully spelled out. Yeah. So, what you got to do is you have to create like a government issued digital ID. Like where we see something like this with Google right now, where at least for a lot of the chatbots, you can click, oh, log in with Google, and then it just logs in with you. You have to create like a government backed one where like they'll have your age and they'll have your information. This way you don't have to provide everything to Grok. You just log in with your government digital ID into Grok, and then you have your age verification, everything already done. And you can't provide the tool until you do that. I mean, like I think a government or a digital ID is going to be something that they do in the future. A lot of the anonymity that you currently get, I think, is gonna go away. I mean, the government can figure out who you are anyway already. I don't. They can't do it on a mass scale. Can't enforce this in a mass scale, like unless you're you've committed a crime, they can't go through the steps and figure everything out. But if they do some kind of government ID and like just make it so that for social media or AI that you have to use it. I imagine many places will like pile on and force you to use it for like stupid things. But I think it's inevitable, and I would prefer the government to do it right than Google to try and do it.